I'm Isabelle Sayed.
And we're in the Côte-Saint-Luc part of Montreal today. Our second practitioner is Jennie Anstey. Welcome, Jennie.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. She is an osteopath and also has a couple of other, I don't know if they're modalities, but other things that she does which are really interesting. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, I'm really curious, what is it about osteopathy that would want you to invest over 5 years, 7 years if I'm correct, to become a practitioner? So what is the attraction for you?
Yes, well, in the program in which I studied, it's actually an official 6-year program, but again, that time can be variable depending on your thesis work. For me, I kind of came at it by surprise in the sense of I sort of was slowly coming into that field. I was coming already from a personal training background.
Okay.
I used to work as a Pilates teacher, and so I had a lot of one-on-one clients who would come. And like anything, when you're training your body, sometimes you're training, you know, with injury or training with something not quite aligned. So I had a lot of people coming saying, okay, my doctor tells me I need to work out, or I'm ready to train, or I'm working with this physiotherapist or this osteopath, this chiropractor, and I used to call them, phone them up and say, hi, I'm I'm working with your clients, and to try to see if we could create bridges of communication with other therapists. So it was a great way, but sometimes I got the, you're just their trainer. Just work out with them, you know, and it was in my heart's desire to kind of, you know, continually working as a team and knowing myself, even after giving birth to my kids. I remember thinking, oh, I just want to make sure everything's straight and lined up before I start, like, you know, training and working, whether it's running or doing a sport.
So your concern really was with the client, like the well-being of the client, even if the other person didn't understand that.
That's it. And so I went back and I thought, I'll just take an anatomy class. I'll just do, like, review my anatomy, make sure I'm just refreshing things, because I did a lot of that at McGill in my physiology program. And after first year, I thought the level of anatomy from the first review year was extraordinary. And I sort of kept thinking, oh, I'll just go one more year. Just one more year. And I saw the huge program that it was, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do the whole thing. And many, many people start like that. They may come in from massage therapy, naturopathy,
chiropractor maybe. Another
profession sometimes, and yet find themselves just with an amazing array of information and practical techniques to bring to people. And so that was my case, and I did it till the end, and I feel really, really honored to have found this work, because I have to say, a little bit anti doing something to someone. You know, like you come for sometimes a massage and lying down and like what? I'm like kind of dead meat, you're just kind of move me, or who am I inside? Like, and what is that level of listening that it truly takes to feel that there's a dialogue? Like, if I hold your arm, how's your arm wanting to move? How is it wanting to express itself? How can I follow that and bring it to balance?
Whereas most therapies, it's more directing, but you're saying listening first and then going with what you're hearing, correct?
Yes. So I had to get over my own resistance for this work, because one of the reasons I was really passionate about working in Pilates or any personal training was I really wanted to hand power back to the client. Because if they got better and their back was sore, it's because they did their homework. It's because they did their exercises. It's because they decided to create the time and space for themselves.
And learn to listen to their bodies as well, right? When whether you're training, doing a Pilates class, and then do you find that some of your clients do tend to understand their responses, their physical responses better now after seeing you, or they're more aware of their bodies, or?
Yes, and I always say it's almost like a session on the table is kind of like a chance to check into your own inner MRI. And when we do an MRI scan, it's like hundreds and thousands of little photos, you know, in this scary little booth. Or you could close your eyes and have like a real-time scan of the body, which is common in many modalities, but it is really a chance for people to tune into their inner world. I'm doing the same. I always tell people, their highest self is really guiding the session.
Mm-hmm.
And my hands are there to become a fulcrum or a fancy crowbar, as I like to say, for
that sounds kind of scary.
Well, yes, because sometimes the sessions can be very physical. I do work very physically sometimes, and so it looks like, but I'm not doing it. So who's moving? What is moving you? How are you breathed? Who is breathing? And this is one of the basis of osteopathy, is this concept of the breath of life. And we could talk about that in many, many spiritual traditions, many areas. But it's more than just the breathing of air. It's a cellular breathing. It's the breath of life is something that emanates from all things, enters in the body, and then our body communicates that back to our environment. So this is a beautiful concept, and it is so osteopathy is a study of the body breathing and being breathed. I like to say. So it's the following of an information stream first and foremost too. Because what are people coming for? Memory. They may have something like, well, is it just that shoulder problem? Is the foot in the door?
Yes.
Right. For something. And that shoulder is really important, speaking its pain or its challenge or something, and it's behind that. What is that connected to? What information stream is coming through? And that's a beautiful process where people are using they come in feeling like, I have all these things. I'm like, no, you do, but this is an opportunity for you to dive in, and so this is the beautiful work.
I'm wondering if, because it sounds to me like what you're describing is really that is, as opposed to pharmaceuticals or which are just really making you not feel what's happening in your body. It sounds like what you're describing is really going to the source, and to the source of that whatever pain, getting to where it originated. Where is it coming from, and then addressing that. I'm wondering if some people believe that people will be healed if they desire to be healed, if they want to be healed. Have you ever had someone come in who maybe showed resistance to healing and then had a breakthrough, and you thought, oh, wow, and maybe they felt that way too? Does that happen?
Yes, and one of the areas of my work that is important for some people is that it's not a talk-based therapy.
Yes.
So I always allow a check-in. We always take the full case and get a lot of information from them, especially on a first session. But the dialoguing is a body dialogue, so sometimes it can be easier for some people who might feel a little clamped up. Well, maybe they're not going to tell you that their parent just passed away not long ago and they're in a deep grief state. It might be something that they mention, but really it's about my leg today. Okay, gotcha. We hear about your leg, but they sometimes don't need to spill the beans, let's say, verbally, and the body will speak and assist other things. And so for that, it's really beautiful. And I'm just going to come back to what you were saying about different than pharmaceuticals, the vision about osteopathy in relation to the inner pharmacy is a really important concept as well. It's something that we work at. Part of our work is that we have in inner pharmacy in all the glands and all of the systems and organs, and our job is to sometimes go and make an exclusionary diagnosis too. A classic one is synthroid. The number of people who are on, for example, a thyroid replacement medication could be one example. They might come and say, oh, well, my tests are looking like this, I may have to be on a hormone. Okay, that could be definitely a possibility, and we would like to, sometimes they want to see, is there something else that I could do that might assist? That could be an eventuality that they may need to do that, but one thing that they might like to check is there something local to that thyroid? Is there something twisted, turned, that's preventing that particular gland to function? And not only that, is there something higher upstream, for example, in the hypothalamus, or in the adrenal glands, or in the ovaries or testicles, or some zone in the body in this biofeedback system, in the endocrine system, that is preventing a proper functioning of that particular gland. So that's an example of where osteopathy can come in too, for a very functional type medicine. That they're just, and sometimes I'll double check and I'll say, well, at this level it's okay. And then I'll go in and double check the movement of the cranium. I'm like, ooh, okay, hold on here. This bone in which this gland is seated and becoming milked 6 to 12 times a minute. These movements are going on. So if that area is not moving properly and cannot produce, then all of the other systems are going to become affected, for example. So at that level, or I'll check this and say, well, no, this is okay, but here, oof, yeah. And we may do a small adjustment here. We may do gentle movements on the larynx, the pharynx too. It's not just bone. It's all layers of tissue that we're working on. So
fascinating, because I know a lot of people, what they say, oh, yeah, my back is hurting, I gotta go to the osteo. Oh, they really work they make osteo sound like magicians, which I'm sure you're doing magic, really, on some level. But can you tell us more about, describe a little, for someone who knows very little about how osteopathy works? It's not just about, I don't know, I would think of the spine, people think of bones, but you're talking about a lot more than that. Can you tell us more?
Well, a funny way to explain it sometimes is, like I like to say, who knows where we come from? But let's say we're coming into these physical vehicles, these physical bodies, from something very, very etheric. And we're coming in to these bodies into this density field, into a field of density on this earth that we live in. And so in this breathing coming into the core of ourselves, coming into the bone. I mean, what's left when we croak? Bones, teeth, hair. So these things, when we're coming and working right into the bone level, that means we've come through all the other layers, you know, skin, tendons and muscles, ligaments and bone, and then into the fluid. So there's many different, it encompasses all the systems. And so when we've come and worked right down to the bone level, that means we are embodying fully the body. So it's a beautiful way of working when we're working in osteopathy, because we are encompassing all of those layers of inhabiting fully a human body and then back out again.
So someone, let's say, I'm so curious then, for someone, for example, who it's more like on a fluid level, let's say, or they're not producing enough white blood cells or red blood cells. So it sounds like what you're saying is that osteopathy can actually be a catalyst to, or help maybe get that production going, or circulation, or that it can actually help.
Yes, absolutely. Because underneath that there are many, of course we have a lot of tools in our toolbox, you know, types of lymphatic drainage, particular biomechanical techniques, a lot of movement techniques which may assist cerebral spinal movement, and we know that is a really key component for many areas, venous drainage in the brain, assisting even cases of dementia, or preventing plaque formations in the brain, and it's cleaning. The body is always cleaning. And this is one of the main elements in it. It also encompasses one thing that a lot of people don't know, because we hear a lot about craniosacral work. And they say, yeah, but I'm seeing an osteopath. Within the bigger umbrella of osteopathy, craniosacral work does encompass that work, and it is part of the bread and butter of what we're working. Some people are working just in craniosacral, and it may not include some of the other aspects which osteopathy encompasses, which is beautiful too, and that's great. But when you are seeing an osteopath, you are really seeing someone who has been trained in those modalities, which is basically this hydraulic pump, that system where we're flushing this fluid that is like seawater throughout our body, up, down, and I like to tell the kids who come, well, it's like you'll feel my hands moving on your spine. It's like maple syrup in a tree. Up and down and moving, and then you start to feel that washing. You can feel where, it's moving, feel a vertebra turning, and then suddenly, it's releasing as it's coming up and down the head. So there's this flux and this fluctuation, and it really is this beautiful spiraling between the earth and the cosmos and earth as it's moving through the body, like in yoga, like in many traditions. So
wonderful. So, in addition to osteopathy, you give these classes in sound immersion and aquatic exploration. Are these modalities or something that you've developed yourself? Can you tell us a bit about this?
Sure. Well, the backstory on that is a little interesting because when I first started my therapeutic practice, I was a classic empath, and people used to describe, oh, I have a headache that goes like this, and it ends up in my eye, or they have sciatica and I'm limping on one leg. What did I do for 2 years? I have the same limp. I walk out with this. I didn't know for the longest time that I was taking it on.
Being affected.
Yeah. So I did everything under the planet. I did crystals this, mantra that. That's when I really got to discover the Montreal metaphysical community, meditation, so many things opened out of necessity, though. And so it was a beautiful time, a challenging time, and I met somebody from the United States who became my primary teacher. And he works in sound and consciousness, and when I met him, I didn't even know what he taught. I just met him and I thought, I need to work with this person. And I dove in. So soon after coming out of a 6-year training, I started going regularly to the States and signed up for his 3-year sound healing program.
Wow.
For my own personal process. Now, he teaches this for people who'd like to become a sound healer and do sessions which are just based on that, and he has people from all over the world that he works with in that way. I gave myself the gift of saying, Jenny, you never have to practice that. You could just do this for your own process. And so, and it became a beautiful way for me to dive into my own process, to discover the techniques of sound and consciousness and how that's been used for millennia on the planet. Vibrational medicine is at the basis of everything. And through that, I've been studying, working with him the last 7 years. I mean, we finished our program and I just keep going back and keep going back. But I've now been sharing it in other ways. I thought, wow, this is too powerful not to bring in.
I see.
So there's many ways that I have decided to work with that. Sometimes it's just bringing the concepts of the philosophy of osteopathy, for example, to the public. We used to do a series of classes where we might go through organ systems and then bring sound tools and meditation into these ways of feeling the body's movement, inner movement. And so I started incorporating sound into groups and workshops. And then when I moved into a new home, there was a pool. And I started working with my children in the pool. And I thought, oh, the fluid body is what we were talking about before.
Yes.
And so, the basis of everything we study in osteopathy is based in embryology. And where are you formed? Where is this body being formed?
Absolutely.
In the water.
Right.
So if you want to understand how, a stomach at one point is a tube, right? And then and part of it, there's a time where the guts are actually outside.
Really?
Yes, outside of the body. And then it comes in at a certain point, and there's a memory of when our intestines were out here, and then it comes in, and then it comes back in. So we can journey through these memory fields as a process, and if you look back at many traditional meditations or journeys, they're guiding these things that we already remembered, these things that we already learned how to do. And so it's a really, it's a really beautiful process in embryology when we're connecting with that and going to heal a particular organ or a particular area, is to go back to the embryological development. So, and we can do that by an inner sensing and a memory of, oh, okay, my stomach turned here, and I made another specific turn, and it turned here, and so you can kind of go in and feel that. Yeah. So in the water, that's what that's what we can listen to in another way. The body is unfolding back to that original matrix.
Can you mention a little bit, you mentioned the pool, because the viewers at home might see people in the background. Can you mention what's going on?
Well, so since I've been developing this work in osteopathy, I've decided traveled to many places seeking out teachers who are working in craniosacral movement, aquatic body work, and then developing that in an osteopathic way. And so recently I've been meeting people from all over the world. Right now today we have someone who's here as a lineage holder from his teacher, a Jiangsu teacher from Mexico.
Wow.
I have people coming from, I've connected with some other osteopaths who have been trained in France, who are aquatic osteopathy is sort of a postgraduate type of course in France that you can take. Currently there's not very many people at all here in Canada working with that. So it
must be the long cold winters.
That's right. Yeah, because we work in very warm water. We work in water that is it's 94, 95 degrees. So there's no homeostasis, there's no need. You won't feel like that's a work to become warm. It's neutral. It's like entering your mama's womb again. And so yes, finding it, I'm really lucky to be able to offer that to the community here in my home in the summer months. And then I have other areas where I offer that in the winter, in Laval, in St. Catherine de Hatley. There's a weekend workshop coming up in November. So, and there are these courses, and I have another one in Mexico for 5 days. In Baja California, which I've worked in the ocean in many places, but this is until the eye can see no more. Infinite bays of calm sea, and it's a beautiful place to step in to really, settle inward and feel those inner emotions within. But I love offering it to the public, for anyone, not just people who are body workers, because we all can get that chance to kind of go in and hear and listen into what's going on. And it's a beautiful process to be able to take your child, take your friend. You could be at a lake saying, okay, let's, and what other excuse would you have to hold someone in your arms?
That's true, especially these days. Touch is so, it seems almost politically incorrect to touch someone now.
In that scenario, it's very acceptable.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, can I hold your mind? I mean, it would be weird.
Right.
But I had that experience when I treated my father, for example, in the water. My parents joined me on one of my courses in Mexico once, and I took him in the water, and I could cry just thinking about it. It was like that return of holding your parent in your arms, like they held you, and I couldn't say that to my dad, even Dad, get on the couch, I'm gonna hold you. But in the water, it's part of how that is. And I got a flash there, and I thought, oh, how wonderful. There are people who come to my workshops who are parent, adult, child, and older parent, for example. And these places of giving and receiving and how the circle of life works. It's beautiful.
So Jennie, I'm sure that, I know for me personally, throughout this interview, I've just been totally fascinated and have seen a whole other aspect of osteopathy that I didn't know existed before. So I'm sure that some people who are watching might think, oh, wow, who is this person? I want to know more, or I want to book a session, or I want to even learn or come do some of the aquatic stuff. How can they get a hold of you, and is there anything else that you're doing or offering that you want to put out there?
Yeah, sure. All of the information is on my website, and it's simply my name.com, jennieanstey.com. And you can also reach me through my Facebook page. I have a business page which has all my workshops and classes and offerings in the community. Also on my, I teach also some third-year students in cranial osteopathy, so you can reach me through the Academy Sutherland of Quebec. All my information is also there. And yeah, you're welcome to join. I offer many, many things in the community. So there's the group classes, there's one-on-one sessions in my office. There's also workshops in the water, if that's of interest. And
that's where I want to be, in the water.
Yes. I do monthly sharing circles also, which is just anyone is free to come and check in. And usually our greatest challenges are someone else, someone else's inspiration. So allowing us to just to share as a community is a really beautiful way. That's it.
I love that you really reach out to the community that way. It's not just come book a session, that's it. You're really quite involved. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and another thing I'm developing coming up too, I'll be offering some, I'm just getting it off the ground, but some free clinic days for parents who are interested in the applications of osteopathy for dental work and myofascial work around any dental or orthodontic type solutions for children. So, and really bringing that work to the light of awareness in the community is really important. So we'll be starting a clinic where certain, I'll just have to triage some of the cases to see which would be appropriate. Not all cases are appropriate to work in that way, but yeah, many projects, and there's so many beautiful applications to this work. And
that's something we didn't get to talk about, teeth. I mean, that would really, that'll be a part 2 maybe, or get in touch with Jennie, because before recording this interview we talked about how you can use osteopathy to help prevent, in some cases even wearing braces or realigning the tissues, or that can impact the structure of teeth and where they're going. And I know that's really not scientific, but but you get the gist. So that's what you're referring to right now with these clinics that you'd be doing around teeth. And
yes,
wonderful. So we'll be definitely staying tuned for that. I know I'm hearing more and more of parents and families saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to the orthodontist, and the $12,000 later," and that's just that's one aspect. But I mean, even just how lengthy it can be, and all the steps and the soft foods and anyway. So that's incredible. I think very few people are aware of how you could even avoid that or complement it in some way to make it shorter and more pleasant.
Well, if you have a body, that's what we've studied in osteopathy, all the intricacies. So it's a beautiful way to adopt that. And like I said before, the teeth are simply that representation of coming into the full embodiment of the self. So the hardest structures that we have in the body are the most beautiful expressions of our full inhabitation of the body, our full arrival into these beautiful.
Fascinating initiative, that really, that's quite unique and very profound. Jennie Anstey, thank you for this education.
Thank you so much for having
It's been
me.
wow. I'm thrilled. So there you have it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Take care.